Hello, it's Lynn Watts here, and today in this video, I'm going to be talking about a couple of picture books that you can use, both of them by the same author, and you could use them in a lesson on feelings. So certainly you might do a lesson on different types of feelings and recognizing those feelings, how to express those feelings, how to cope with those feelings. You could do that as a classroom lesson. You could also do it in a small group. I think it's a very appropriate lesson to do in a small group, especially if you're working with children who need some help with either expressing their feelings or perhaps managing their feelings. In my lesson book on small groups, small group guide, I do have a lesson on growing in real feelings. And just like all of the lessons that I provide, it has standards, it has objectives, has this particular book, because it's a small group guide, has an icebreaker that you could do with a small group, essential questions, books that you can read, and then some activities. And this one, of course, is designed to be also a journal. So there's a journal page that you can use with students to talk about what they learned and what they, their thoughts about that particular lesson. So let's say that you are doing a lesson on feelings. One of the books that you could use would be this one, and both these books, by the way, are by Todd Parr, who has some really adorable books, very eye-catching because of his illustrations. He, of course, is the writer and the illustrator of the books. And this one is called The Kindness Book. So let's say that perhaps you're trying to talk about developing a culture of kindness, either in a classroom or with a group of students. And this would be certainly a very good book to share with them. And on the back of it, at the end of most of his books, he kind of summarizes one thought that you can get from the whole book. And this one is kindness is thinking about people's feelings and helping them feel good. Be kind to others and be kind to yourself. So he really includes a lot in that particular statement, and you could use all of those different pieces either in a group or a classroom lesson on that. So this book in particular talks about what is kindness, and then it just gives you lots and lots of examples. It reminds me a lot, if you're familiar, of Charles Schulz and his old books on love is, happiness is, that sort of thing. It's kind of along that vein. So just a few examples. Kindness is reading a bedtime story to someone you love. Kindness is holding the door open for someone. Kindness is taking care of your community. So it's lots of different examples. And you could use this in conjunction with other things that you're doing in a lesson. What I often did with his books that are created in this vein is to then have the students in a classroom or in a group make their own kindness book. So you would give each of them a piece of paper and some markers, and they would finish the sentence, kindness is, and then they would illustrate what they felt kindness was, and you put it all together and you'd have a book similar to this one. So that's a good book to use with feelings. Another one, if you're kind of approaching it more along the line of worry, anxiety, feeling scared, feeling afraid. This is another book, as you can see, by Todd Parr with his delightful illustrations. And this one's called the I'm Not Scared book. So the theme of this one, actually, and again, I'm going to read you his last statement, is sometimes we are scared of things because we don't understand them. When you're afraid, tell someone why, and maybe you won't be scared anymore. And so each one of the situations that he talks about in the book go along this line. Sometimes I'm scared of the dark. I'm not scared if I have a nightlight. All right, so each one of the situations, he tells you something that sometimes a child might be afraid of, and then what would be a solution to being afraid, sometimes I'm scared of monsters and ghosts. I'm not scared when I see that they aren't real. So just like all of his books, they have some very bright, delightful illustrations. And again, you could easily have students in a group or in a classroom make their own book about feeling scared. And sometimes I'm scared when, but I'm not scared when, and then they could have a solution to that problem. That would be very interesting to see what students came up with. So I hope those give you some good ideas about books that you can use in talking about feelings. I know that's one of the topics that as school counselors we always try and include in our series of lessons. And of course, you could do it even individually for that matter in terms of reading the books and then having students talk about what they learned from the book and how they could cope with either feeling scared or how they could be help create that kindness community. So as always, thanks so much for all you do for children, and thanks for listening.